Hello. Do you feel like sometimes in your marriage, when you try to talk to your spouse, things just kind of blow up and get out of hand? Do you feel like sometimes here lately, you find yourself fighting more in your marriage than you do for your marriage? Mm-hmm. If that's you, you're going to love this interview today. Hello, this is Vincent.
And Valerie
Woodard. And today on Couples Pursuit, we're going to talk
about how to fight for your marriage and not against it. Mm-hmm. And we have a wonderful guest with us today in the person of Dr. Carol Peters-Tanksley, MD.
How you doing, Dr. Carol?
Welcome, Dr. Carol.
Hi, Vincent, Valerie. Great to be here.
Thank you so much. We want to give you a little bit of information about our guest today. Dr. Carol Peters-Tanksley, MD, is an expert on the integration of wholeness for body, mind, and soul. As an author, speaker, personal coach, OB-Gyn physician, and ordained doctor of ministry, she brings both academic expertise and years of experience as a practitioner, helping people experience wholeness as God intended.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That was a mouthful. There's so much goodness in that. I'm so excited to be able to dig into all this information and just get to know you a little bit better.
Yes. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, Dr. Carol.
Yes.
Well, I really appreciate this opportunity. You know, we're talking about marriage and the way God intended it to be. I did not grow up with the healthy template of marriage. I saw a lot of the dysfunction and harm and trauma that can come through close personal relationships. I was in my 40s. I had never been married. And God brought my loving husband into my life. I was kind of surprised, frankly. And through that experience of getting married and being cherished and so on, I learned so much about intimacy and love and what it really is and what it isn't. And my husband and I enjoyed 7.5 years of a loving relationship before he passed away and went home to be with the Lord.
Wow.
Now, in recent years, I am so privileged to help people in dealing with their challenges that they are experiencing in, whatever areas of their life, writing and podcasting and speaking and coaching and so on. And it seems like the number one issue has to do with marriage and relationships, the intimate needs that we have, what we want, and the way that gets disappointed and how to do it better. It seems like so many people are struggling in this area. And so it's become probably really the number one thing that I talk about, help people with. And I'm just thrilled to be here with you guys.
Oh, wow. That is so awesome. I am so grateful that you said yes to the invitation to come on our show. You could have been doing anything else, but I'm so grateful that not only you're a doctor and we get the wealth of that knowledge, well, a little bit, as much as we can squeeze out in this time that we have with you, but the fact that you're also a believer, that you love the Lord and that you're in the ministry and you're teaching from that perspective also. So I just can't wait to get into this topic. When you told me, I'm sorry, babe, you want to say something?
Fine. No,
when we talked about and things we wanted to share, what sprung up to me was one of your ebooks that you have on your site, which says fighting for your marriage.
Yes.
And when I saw that, I said, wow, it seemed like for so long I fought against my marriage.
Yes.
Can you just, I know we're going right there, I was going to walk around the lake.
Cut to the chase.
Yep.
People need help, right? They need help.
But amen.
Just talk a little bit we'll talk a lot about that fighting. What are we doing? What are we doing wrong? What can we do better? Dr. Carol, the floor is yours.
Oh, wow. Well, it seems like maybe 95% of the married people who talk to me will come and say something like, if my spouse would only shape up, if my husband would listen to me more, if my spouse would give me more sex, if they wouldn't be so, messy around the house, if they, get a job or, they listen to me or communicate better, whatever. If my spouse would do something different, then everything would be okay. 95% of the married people come and say something like that. Now, maybe your spouse needs to change. But here's a newsflash, guys. You cannot change your spouse.
You cannot change your spouse.
Put it on a t-shirt.
It's like 20, 30 years later, we realize, we can't change them.
Can't change them.
Yep. Now, you can influence your spouse, and who you are makes a difference in how your spouse responds.
Right.
But you can't change them. So why don't you just give up already? Just quit trying to do what isn't working anyway, and focus on the things that you can do. There is a lot that you can do. And if you spend all your time focusing on your spouse who you can't change and neglect what you can do, you're not going to get anywhere. And chief among the things you can do is look at yourself.
Introspection. Yes.
Yeah, it's one topic when I read it, I was like, wow. Those things when our pastor said somebody needs to tweet that. That's back when days when Twitter was kind of hot. But you said little frustrations bother you more than they did in the past. Neither of you seem to invest quite as much into your marriage. Thoughts about your marriage make you feel more tired than hopeful.
Yes.
Please unpack that.
Yes.
Thoughts about your marriage make you feel more tired than hopeful.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes fighting against your marriage, it's like it's a war zone. Sometimes it can be intense like that, but sometimes, in fact, I think more often, you just kind of put up with stuff gets swept under the rug, little junk gets in the space between you, and a wall starts being built between you, and it gets higher and thicker, and you're farther apart. You're neglecting each other. You're not investing the same. And so the idea of your marriage becomes a drain rather than fuel keeping you going. And it keeps draining the life out of you. That is not the way God intended it to be. Now, I do want to just put a quick parenthesis here, because I need to acknowledge toxic marriages. There are some marriages that are very toxic, and I don't want anything we say here to say you put up with abuse or addiction or whatever. That requires special help. I just want to acknowledge that.
Yes.
That if you and your spouse are both people of reasonably good will, with a reasonably good heart, this can work. This can work if you focus on changing what you can change.
Yes. Go ahead, babe.
No, I was just going to say that's really good.
Yeah,
it's true.
I remember so much forgetting the purpose why I wanted this lovely woman to be my wife. Like with the visions that I saw of us having a family, of us growing old together. It's like I forgot the fact that, okay, I'm ticked off about whatever it was. I can't even remember half the arguments that we have. I just knew that I was mad, I was angry, and I wanted her to know that.
Yep.
And so for her knowing that, it's draining, it's tired, it takes a lot of energy. And when I read that, I'm like, wow, it's tiring fighting in your marriage.
It is. And you can settle into a miserable marriage détente. The styles of communication you use together, you keep going around that same boat over and over again.
Yeah.
One wants to talk and the other doesn't, and one either gets angry or stonewalls and walks away, and nothing ever moves forward. It doesn't have to be like that.
No.
That is so good. And we were the poster children, or the poster couple for that type of relationship, because we did what I call the dance.
Yes.
I had a stance and he had a stance, and it would always end up in the same cycle.
Yes. And we're defending that stance.
I'm not coming off this wall. And we said something in one of our first sessions where we talked about, marriage has purpose, right? First of all, we are to be fruitful, multiply, and make disciples, and make more disciples, and our children should be disciples, and on and on and on. However, it has the benefit of love and romance as well, right? Those are gifts to us. Love, romance, and intimacy are gifts within our marriage. And so we're supposed to be, instead of fighting in the sandbox, we're supposed to be building a castle. And we were drawing lines and we were fighting. And it's like, how ridiculous is that?
Yep.
What happened to the threefold cord? God, Holy Spirit is in the middle. He's on his side, tearing away at the fibers of his rope. I'm on my side, tearing away at the fibers, and God is like,
trying to break away.
What are you doing?
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Oh, Valerie, I love that. Absolutely. I sometimes think couples end up, sitting on opposite sides of the room or opposite sides of the county, like they're throwing hand grenades at each other.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be that way. Here's a way to change the dance. See yourselves as sitting on the same side of the table, addressing the problem that's out here. Your spouse is not your enemy. Now, with rare exceptions, if your spouse is toxic and hurtful and truly abusive, that's different. But your spouse is not the enemy. Your spouse is not the one making you miserable. We do have another enemy, and we can talk about that. And that's really the bottom line. It's not your spouse. So see your spouse sitting on the same side of the table with you, and you're looking at the problem, and you're coming together to work on the problem.
Right. I love that.
Yeah, you mentioned that as with national security, so it is with our marriage. If you can identify and name your enemy, you can defeat him.
You cannot. If you can identify, that's right. You said it
right.
You said it right.
If you don't name it, but anyway, if you name what the enemy is, if you identify the enemy, like you said, so we're about to go to another level. We're about to go a little deep. Okay, you walk into the lake. You step down like, okay, I like this, and you get a little. So we're about to go deep. So that enemy, that talk about that, Dr. Carol.
There is somebody who is out to destroy your marriage. Satan and the kingdom of darkness is out to destroy your marriage. You may think it's your spouse. You may think, it's all the frustrations in life, but the enemy, Satan, is using all those frustrations to try and get at your marriage. We are told that Paul tells us in Ephesians that the church, or the way Christ is interacting with his people now, and in marriage, it's a picture of Christ in the church. Now, God is always the original. We are the pattern. So what is marriage depicting about God? God is relational and intimate within himself. Father, Son, and Spirit, they are so close that we are told to think of them as one God, and they are.
Yes.
And so in marriage, that intimacy, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, is what God designed marriage to be, as a demonstration, an object lesson of that kind of intimacy that he experiences and that he wants with us. The enemy hates that. He hates that demonstration of intimacy reflecting God. And so he is out to get you.
And we so often practice ways to break apart from this marriage. We want to separate ourselves. And like you said, what we're really actually doing to ourselves is that we're saying that it's okay to quit. So now we're not talking about toxic marriage. I want people to understand that. We put those separate. We're talking about the ones that there's still love there. There's still some hope there. But he just do this and he gets on my nerves, and she does that, and I can't take it anymore. I'm out. We're talking about those people are at the point of separation to divorce because we've let the enemy come in and divide us. Exactly. We drew the line in the sand. We're talking about those relationships right now, right, Dr. Carol?
Yes, absolutely. That's what we're talking about. Here's the thing. Most people, I think, get married thinking marriage is supposed to make them happy.
Woo!
No. Now, you may be happy in marriage, and in a godly marriage, many of your needs will be met. There will be much joy. There will be much connection. But that is not the purpose of marriage. Newsflash, it's not all about you. Your marriage is not primarily to make you happy. Amen. I believe marriage is a laboratory in which we learn to love well.
Wow.
Yes.
That's good. Now I'm gonna tweet that.
Hey, take it.
Learn to love well.
You add your name to the quote.
It's a laboratory in which we learn to love well, and that takes learning. We don't know that automatically.
Right. And in other situations where we're not committed, You know, we have a series. It's called The 3 Phases of Marriage, right?
Yeah.
And the first is courtship. And then we have covenant. And then we have commitment afterwards. And we do that because when we court, right? You know, that's all the good stuff. And then you know, covenant, you have the wedding and all of those things. But then you get to the commitment phase. The commitment should be there prior. But I don't think that it is in order, because many of us want to jump out of it after we found out, well, she doesn't please me all the time.
We say I do, but then we say I thought about
Maybe
it.
Not. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. But
I thought I did.
But that commitment is so necessary, and without that commitment, you don't find out the true depth and the meaning of love. Because if you can just check out anytime you want to, it's not love. There's no commitment there.
That's right.
But we find that he has things that I don't. I have things that he doesn't. And what I might not think about, he may, and vice versa. And so there's a benefit to us being different, right? And so that love that we share with one another as we go through all of the vows that we say, better or worse, richer or poor, sickness and health, death, this part, it's like, yeah, I'm going to say all that because I feel good. I got this dress on. We're going on a honeymoon. It's going to be great. We're going to have babies. And then life slaps you in the face and it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe not so much. Maybe God was confused. Maybe he's not the one for me.
Yep.
And if we don't start looking at ourselves and our history and the things that cause us to tick, and what filter are we looking through life with, then we can be the ones to put our marriage asunder. And many times that is what happens. It's what was happening with us.
Yes.
We were tearing our marriage apart.
Yeah.
You talked about looking at your own stuff, and in asking, are you the one who's tearing your marriage asunder? There's 2 questions that I have found often helpful for married people. They can be useful to anyone, but especially for married people. One is, what's it like to be married to me?
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you the one who's prickly and your spouse can never win? There's no way they can ever be good enough, and you are impossible to please, impossible to get along with. You are the one who's making your home miserable. Now, this isn't to take on self-blame and self-contempt.
Right.
The Holy Spirit is always inviting you to come up higher. He wants to transform you into the next dimension of growth and wholeness that Jesus has for you. So it's not about self-contempt.
Right.
But what's it like to be married to me can be a powerful one. And here's the second question. Jesus, who do you need me to be to my spouse
That's
in
good.
this season?
I love it.
That's good. That's good. That's good. When you I had some other questions, but I want to stay right here. So what happens when two partners, 2 people are not evenly yoked? Maybe they don't go to church. Okay, even yoked, that's too deep. Let's say we both believe in Jesus. We both believe in God, but one is like really involved in the ministry, and the other one is like, just give my check.
I don't need all that.
Yeah. Just I'm not going today because I got the football to watch. That yoke. That's what I'm talking about. Well, what happens when one partner is like kind of really dedicated, and we're having trouble in our marriage?
Yeah.
And we know prayer helps, but he's not really on the same, dedication to me that I believe needs to be for us to get this marriage healed. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. And that can be a really painful kind of situation. I think in that situation, whichever spouse is listening to us and is committed to doing things God's way, ask those 2 questions. What's it like to be married to me? Jesus was irresistibly attractive. He drew people to him. Are you attractive to your spouse?
Wow.
Are you coming closer to Jesus so that they will want to come closer to Jesus as they come closer to you? What does your spouse think of God based on you? Now, again, not self-contempt. We all need to grow.
Yeah.
But a really insightful way to think about it. And then, who does God need me to be to my spouse? Maybe God needs you to take your grubby hands off so that God can do his work. If you've been meddling, get your hands off. Maybe.
I love you.
Maybe God needs you to have a hard conversation.
Yeah.
You know, to bring some stuff into the light that you've been sweeping under the rug and talk about the hard things.
Wow.
Maybe he needs you to enter your spouse's world and be a friend.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That could be an insightful question. And then here's one more thing. Pray against the enemy who's seeking to destroy your marriage. Remember, your spouse is not the enemy.
That's right.
But there is an enemy. So if your spouse is not joining you in the fight against the enemy of your marriage, there is a lot that your prayer can do. Plead the blood of Jesus over your marriage. Ask God to show you your spouse's heart. Ask God to show you how he sees your marriage.
Yes.
Wow.
You can do so much in prayer, even if your spouse is not with you, and God willing, as you do that dance, your spouse will start wanting to take some of those steps with you.
That's so good. There's so much you said that was wonderful there. I love the 2 questions. And it's actually a little bit of what we talk about in our effective communication guide. It's like, how does your spouse see you? How do they experience you? Right? And we lived in that place. You know, I got chastised one time because I thought, you know, well, Lord, I'm just going to tell him what your word says about how he's supposed to treat me. And the Holy Spirit was like, yeah, don't do that. You know, that was very early in our marriage, and I was very sorry for doing it, but I was prideful in that moment. You're supposed to treat me like this, and this is what you need to do. And that was not inviting. That was not loving at all.
Yes.
And it didn't change him. If anything, he just turned his ears down.
Yeah.
Turned them down.
Yeah, because I'm like, okay, well, you know what? It's like, I guess with any person, when you know you're supposed to be doing certain things, it's like, okay, well, we both, well, she was going to church more than I was, but I was going to church sometimes. But I was hearing the word, and I know what I'm supposed to do is being the priest of my home, being a man of my home, but I wasn't doing it. So I'm already dealing with that. I know that, okay.
He didn't need me to tell him.
So, and that's probably why I didn't go to church, because I know that I will probably get called on that. Not saying that my wife is going to tell the pastor or nothing, but it just, if he hears from God, God's going to be like, look, there's some people in here, hint, hint, that needs to hear, they need to be the priest of the home. So I don't want to go to church to hear that. And then my wife would say, something like that, you know, when she did say that. It's not like I hated her, but I'm just like, I know. I don't want you to know that I know, but I know. And I'm not proud of it. But I don't know what to do. So that's why I asked the question, like, what does one spouse do? And how can they, like, get on the path to rekindle those, after they ask those questions, have those self-reflective questions, just the one spouse that's actually watching this video, hopefully both of them are watching. But after they ask these questions, like the next steps to approaching their spouse, what do you recommend?
For a wife, oftentimes it's, well, he's not paying attention to me, he's not treating me right. So my encouragement to the wife in that kind of a situation is take a mental step towards your husband. You can choose to move in his direction. Just take a step toward him. For the husband, oftentimes he wants to seek physical intimacy if he wants to connect, and you know, if she's not responsive, he gets frustrated. So my encouragement to the husband is seek her heart before seeking her body. And making an intentional choice to move in your spouse's direction in that way will do a whole lot. Every marriage faces these kinds of challenges. We're talking about fighting for your marriage. Every marriage is the union of two sinners, a setup for disaster, but for God. So don't think there's something wrong with you. The marriage is working as intended when it shows your prickly spines and your spouse's prickly spines. It's working as intended. God is giving you an opportunity to deal with that and learn to love well.
Yes. And men, we have this, we're fixers. We're want to talk about, if you're going to tell us a problem, we want to fix it. Okay. You might even ask, you don't really want us to like interject. You just want us to listen, but we hear a problem, we want to fix it. So we go through this thing where we are great sustainers. We want to just keep something running, but not really like fix it all the way. Like the roof is leaking, we'll patch it, but we won't fix it. You know, the car is leaking oil, you know, we'll stop the oil leaking. We'll stop the leak that you see on the driveway, but we won't stop the oil leaking. We are sustainers. The same thing in our marriage. Now if we want the marriage to thrive, to keep going, we would do what we have to do to sustain it, to fix that patch. Okay, you don't like me come home late from work, so I won't come home late from work. But what's the reason why you come home late from work? Well, we're not talking about that right now. We're dealing with the issue of
surface.
I'm gonna put this patch on this.
Right.
And throughout a whole marriage, it seemed like a male would just patch up an issue just to keep it going until, you know, something else happens. But women would like to deal with the issue. They want to
In general, we want to. I'm that person.
So
I want to talk it out.
Just a quick encouragement to wives. Remember, your husband is usually in one compartment or another. Don't expect to interrupt his football game or, you know, his fishing trip to talk about the stuff. Invite him to join you. Yes, men love to fix things. So wives, invite your husband to join you in addressing the challenge. And for men, you've done harder things. You can do this.
You can have this.
You can do this. Yes, you can take a step and look under the surface and deal with it. You have done harder things. Just do it.
I love that. And you won't break, because one of the things my husband said to me right before our reconciliation many years ago, he says, I don't know if I can be the husband that you are expecting me to be. Yep. I don't know if that's possible. And when I realized that he really felt that way, it changed my heart and my perspective towards him, because all the time he was fighting what he didn't know. Yeah. He didn't know how to be.
I've exhausted all of my possibilities.
He didn't have the example, right? And so as a man, society teaches us, you're a man, you're supposed to know. You're supposed to have the answers. You're supposed to, you know, fill in the blank. And if you didn't have the instructions, then you kind of make it up as you go. Yep. He jokingly tells people he practiced on me. And he did. He did.
That's the laboratory and learning to love well for both of you, you know? Yep.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't have the tools, and it's okay for men to be vulnerable. We have to learn how to teach our sons and daughters that we are different in biology and anatomy, right? But we're basically the same when it comes to emotion. And it's okay for them to express emotion. They don't express it the way that we do, but we have to remember that they have it.
Yeah, we do have it.
And how to allow them to express it in the way that is comfortable for them. You know, not in a toxic way, but a way that's comfortable for them, and be able to receive that. And then they can be encouraged to know, I can do this.
Yes.
I'm able to fix it, and I'm not going to break. And I'm not even going to break if I cry, or if I have to tell you something that's embarrassing or troubling, that may be the roadblock or the one of those, you know, bricks in that wall that's between us. Yeah.
Dr. Carol, we're in the water. We're deep. But okay, just we got to get out. But just a little bit more. You said something. I just can't let you leave this interview without addressing. You said that necessary actions may include choosing intimacy in these situations right here.
Intimacy and sex, related but not the same. Choosing to pursue your spouse. It takes intention. You know, for men, most commonly, there's certainly exceptions, but most commonly it's like, you know, oh, I want some, let's get in bed, and then all is good. For most women, why would I want to be with you? We're not connected.
Yep.
So you have to choose to pursue that. So husbands, if your wife never wants to sleep with you, doesn't want to have sex, think about the why. Seek to understand the why. It's probably not that she's seeking to make you miserable. There is something there to be dealt with.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And same thing for wives. Choose to move in his direction. And many wives can help their husbands express some of those emotions that they struggle to. Most of the time, wives are more verbal and relational and can be curious. So, wife, make it safe for your husband to be real. If every time he lets down the walls, you're battering him, well, why would he want to do that?
Right.
So move a step towards your spouse in pursuing intimacy. Yes, pursuing that connection.
So
fight for your marriage, not in your marriage.
Not against it. Yes.
Not against your marriage.
That's great. So I want to ask a question before we have to leave. You have so many hats that you wear, responsibilities: author, speaker, personal coach, doctor OB-Gyn, doctor of ministry. How does all of that work together for you? Do you end up overlapping? Do you end up ministering to your patients? And do your patients become your, part of your coaching responsibility? And how does that all come into play?
Yeah. Thanks for that. In many ways, they do overlap. Now, I am not actively seeing OB-GYN patients right now. I'm just focusing much more on the ministry. But what the medicine experience has given me is a perspective of how our bodies are related with our souls and our spirits, and how all of it comes together. It's given me a chance to talk with women in some of the most intimate moments of their lives and deal with some of the hardest issues that they deal with, and see how relationships and marriage, play into that. So when you talk about the wholeness Jesus came to give us, it's a lot more connected than I think most of us have really been helped to understand. So.
That's wonderful.
Well, as we walk back out, Dr. Carol, tell us something that we might have missed. I know we could have unpacked so many things. I actually have so much we could talk about, but what is that thing we didn't talk about that you might want to share with us?
Okay. Before I got married, I heard a radio program, and these two things stuck in my mind. And I think this is great, regardless of what stage of marriage you are. Number one, study your spouse. Learn about them. Seek to understand them. Study your spouse. Number two, stay on your knees. You cannot do this on your own.
Yes.
God must be the glue holding you together. Study your spouse, stay on your knees.
That's why I asked that question, because we needed that.
Yeah.
I pray, I love the Lord, but it's always a constant reminder, because there's some people, some people just kind of go through the day, and we might fit a prayer in, or we might skip it. I guess maybe it's like lunch or your snack or something. I don't know. It's like you have to do those things. Study your spouse, stay on your knees, and pray. And I'm so glad that we have guests like you to remind us of those things. We bring the spiritual with the practical, and it's because we live in both places. And I'm so glad that you shared that today.
I am too. It's wonderful, and I would love to share your book with others. Those of you that are watching, How to Fight for Your Marriage and Not Against It, you can reach Dr. Carol at drcarolministries.com. We're going to put it in the comments, and it'll be attached where you can go to her website also. It's drcarolministries.com. That is drcarolministries.com/relationship. And the ebook download is called Fight for Your Marriage. And I am so excited that you have shared with us tonight a wealth of knowledge. And we are just so happy that you came. I'm sure that we could probably talk another hour about everything.
I guess it's good when you say we got to have you back, Dr. Carol, because we just didn't have enough time. We got to have you back. So thank you again for coming by, dropping by, and talking with us.
Yes.
Blessings to you. God bless each one of you listening as well.
Yes,
and so if you got something out of this episode, I urge you to please share with someone that you know. Maybe tag someone in this post, or just tell someone about it. Okay,
right.
You know, they can go to our page. They can also go to our website, coverpursuit.com, and I can also go to Dr. Carol's website. My wife mentioned that, and please share and support, and also bless somebody, because this interview blessed me. I know, and I hope it blessed you too also. So
yeah, I hope so too. And I just want to say that if you're the spouse that's watching and your spouse is not watching, or they're not surrendered, one thing that I've learned, if you pray for your spouse like you're praying for the spouse of a brother or a sister, pray for them in that way. It takes the sting out of it. It puts you in a position where you can offer grace, and you can offer mercy, and you can pray for them without vengeance, without malice, without get them, Lord, get them, because that doesn't work. We're one.
Show them, Lord.
We're one. If you can do that, and then work on yourself. Answer those two questions that Dr. Carol mentioned. And again, they are, what is it like to be married to me? And then ask Jesus, who do you want me to be to my spouse? If you approach it from that position of humility, then God will bring you a long way in reconciling your marriage. It's not guaranteed that everybody's going to come back together, but the best option that you have is to realize that God is the center of it. And when you focus on Him, He can bring the two of you back together. Again, I want to thank Dr. Carol for being with us this evening. Yes. It was wonderful. I learned a wealth of information that I'm surely going to share. And until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May He make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you and give you peace. We'll see you again on Couples Pursuit.
Bye.
Bye.